Hey everyone, COE33 here with another game room tour for you. It's 2019, which means it's time for our annual full game room tour. We do this every year, and this is going to be a nice long video. I'm going to take my time, I'm going to go around, I'm going to share the collection, both the upstairs and the downstairs game room, in lots of detail. We'll talk about everything that we have in the collection. And oh, there's an Oscar. He's kind of camouflaged there in the chair. You can barely see him. He's in full stealth mode. And I'm looking forward to sharing this with you today. Leaf and I have been really busy cleaning and organizing and sorting for really the last week or so, and making lots of changes to both the upstairs and downstairs game room. Some are more subtle than others, but just little improvements here and there to kind of get the game room looking good and ready to share with you guys. So I hope you enjoy this. Now, if you just want a quick overview of what we have in the collection, I went ahead and I took some B-roll footage, and I'll put that in the video right now, and go ahead and watch that. And if you want to see the longer full tour, stick around when that's done playing, and we'll go around and we'll talk about the collection. All right, we're back. I hope you enjoyed that footage, and why don't we start the tour? So we're in the upstairs game room, and I consider this the retro game room. And the main reason for that is, one, as I've kind of designed it to be an old school room with, the lava lamp and the CRT television and the shag papasan chair and this rug here. And it definitely has a retro vibe. And then all the games up here, at least the goal that I'm working towards, is to have all the games up here be old school games like Genesis, NES, Sega Master System, games that are cartridge based. I've got the Atari 2600 shelf over there, which is a new addition up here. That was the PlayStation shelf, and I finally put the PlayStation games in the downstairs game room, which is now kind of the modern game room, and brought the Atari games up here. So definitely a nice change to this upstairs game room. Now there are some exceptions. There is a HD TV over here, and I have that up here because we do have the cable box hooked up to that. And but that's okay. I can always close these doors and you never see it. But for the most part, everything up here is retro. We got the vinyl record player and all of that. So why don't we just start going around? We'll talk about the different items in the collection, and I guess we might as well start right here. So this is our turntable setup, and this has gone through a lot of different iterations over the years. And if you followed the channel for a while and you've seen our different game room tours, you may notice quite a few changes here. Now, initially, we just had one of those record players that you could get at Target. They're inexpensive. They look cool. They have like a retro look to them, but the sound quality is terrible. and it's kind of questionable if they're good for your records or not because the needles on them are a little oh, they're not calibrated well, I guess, and they're a little heavy. So some people say that they scratch your records. So all those things combined, I knew I wanted to upgrade, but I didn't want to pay a lot of money. So while Leaf and I were out and about game hunting over the years, I would track down good deals on different components, and I kind of pieced together this setup. So I'm really happy with it now. I've changed it a lot. I've changed the speakers, I've changed the turntable. It's gone through quite a few different changes. But finally, it's kind of dialed in. It sounds really good. I think it looks good in this space now, which is nice. And yeah, why don't we just start talking about what we have here? So this is a Technics turntable. It's a 80s. I'm not sure what year exactly, but it's from the 80s. And yeah, it works great. No complaints there. And then moving down here, we've got a Scott receiver, and we've got a Denon 6-disc CD changer. So that's cool. And these were all, really cheap. I don't know, $5, $10 maybe. And then we have all our records here. And it's nice because these records were, some of them were here in this little oak cabinet, and then the other ones used to be over here below the pinball machine, and that kind of always bugged me. So I tracked down some new speaker stand, a new solution for our speaker stand here. And I got these little oak tables. These are basically if you eat dinner at a couch or something, these are like those tables that you can put your plate on while you're at a couch. And I thought, well, this would be a good solution because they fit the speakers exactly right. It looks like they're kind of floating there. It matches the rest of the oak in the room. And gives me a little space for the vinyl underneath. So I thought that would be a really good solution. And also they were cheap, so that's nice. And now all my records are together. And then as far as speakers, we have these vintage Bose speakers. They're also from the 80s. And they sound great. I really like them. I had some giant floor standing Fisher speakers up here before these, and they were just massive. They kind of were a little too big for this room, I thought. And honestly, the sound quality wasn't as good as these speakers. These sound better and they're smaller, so it's kind of a win-win. And these were also a Goodwill find. So yeah, it's amazing what you can find at Goodwill for dirt cheap. And yeah, that's the turntable setup. As far as music, I really like classic rock, um, video game soundtracks. Pink Floyd is one of my favorite bands, and my youngest brother has been hooking me up with some first pressings of various Pink Floyd albums, and I've got a whole bunch of them. I've got The Wall, I've got Wish You Were Here, and a lot of really amazing Pink Floyd records. I've got a good majority of them, so that's pretty awesome. And then I really enjoy like the game soundtracks. So, we got the Revenge of Shinobi, we have Shenmue. When I'm out and about, I try to find just good deals on music I like. Eric Clapton. I enjoy playing guitar, so Stevie Ray Vaughan and Clapton and oh gosh, Led Zeppelin and just a lot of the guitar heroes, Jimi Hendrix. I really enjoy music like that. And yeah, I just try to pick them up when I come across them in good shape. So why don't we move on to something else here? Might as well move on over here. So this is our pinball machine. It's a 1978 Bally pinball machine, a Fireball. And this was sold through Sears back in 1978 through their catalog. It was an at-home pinball machine, so it doesn't have a coin door or anything like that. But it was just a regular pinball machine that you could go into Sears and buy it, which is really cool, I think. And I actually have a little advertisement over here of the pinball machine back in 1978. So this is what you would see in your Sears catalog. And, if you wanted to go and pick this up, it'd be a nice Christmas present or something like that for the kids. And yeah, very cool. It's not quite full size, but it's a pretty large machine. It actually fits this space really well. And I love the look of it. It's a very cool looking machine. And yeah, we picked this up really cheap off of Craigslist. Some guy in Portland was selling it. And it was so cheap because it had graffiti all over it. It had like super glue all over the glass. All the rubber pieces needed to be replaced. It was kind of sitting outside with a tarp all over it. and there was a lot of crazing in the back glass, and the sound didn't work, and a whole host of problems. So we picked it up for peanuts and brought it home, put it in the garage, and started to do a nice soft restore on it. So as far as what we did, we replaced all the rubber components on the playfield. We waxed the playfield, of course. I try to do that about once a year. And then we went ahead and took the back glass off, and we did a little touch up on the back of the backup glass. Excuse me, a little touch up on the back of the back glass. There we go. That's kind of a tongue twister. And basically filled in all the little areas that you could see through so it looks better. And then I did some soldering to the board to fix some of the issues, like with the sound and the scoring and whatnot. We added this little LED light strip around the edges. That's not a standard feature. That's just a little battery-powered LED light strip. And it just needed a little extra light there, I thought. And so went ahead and did that. And then we got all the graffiti off of the sides of the artwork here on the sides. And we put a little red LED light strip on the back of the machine, so it kind of has a red glow behind the machine. So we did a whole bunch to it to get it to where it's at now. I think next I'm going to go ahead and try to fix this here. I'm not too worried about it because this is just kind of from people over the years, you know, putting their palms here. That's pretty standard wear on one of these older machines, so that doesn't bother me too much. But I think I will probably address that here in the near future. And this machine gets a lot of use. It's definitely probably I would say the most popular item up here. Like when we have friends or family over, they come up here, play a little pinball, and we all try to beat each other's high score and have a lot of fun with it. And it works great. I mean, for being as old as it is, 1978, you know, it still plays really well. It scores correctly. And I'm trying to play one-handed here. That's not easy. But the coils are responsive, and all in all, it's just a great machine, and I'm really happy with it, and especially since it was so inexpensive. Eventually, I don't know, I sometimes wonder if I want to upgrade, because although I really like this machine, the actual playfield isn't the most interesting. Certainly a 90s era pinball machine might be more fun from a play standpoint. But then again, this was so much fun to restore, and it looks so cool, and it does have that history behind it, so I really like it. So I'm hesitant to get rid of it. So unless, you know, something really amazing like a Medieval Madness or I don't know, Addams Family machine fell in my lap for really cheap, this is probably going to be here for quite a while. So that is our pinball machine right there in that nook. Over here in this nook, this is actually where it all started. When I bought this house, I wanted, you know, as I said, I wanted to have a little game room up here. And this little alcove was kind of where I first started putting stuff. And the first item that we put up here was this iCade. And I had an iPad 2 that the cable company gave to me when I signed up for cable. They gave us a free iPad 2. And I saw that there was this thing called an iCade that you could hook up your iPad 2 to via Bluetooth and play some old school games. And I thought, yeah, that's cool. And I was able to get one on clearance. And I really like it. This thing has been amazing. And it actually gets a lot of use. And here, I'm kind of banging on the chair here. Let me move this chair out of the way. There we go. And there's all kinds of games on here. So let's see here. I'll show you guys what's going on here. So I have all these games that work with the iCade. Metal Slug 2, Metal Slug 3, Metal Slug X, Samurai Showdown, King of Fighters, Blazing Star, Raiden Legacy, R-Type 2. I love the R-Type games. And then we got like Atari's Greatest Hits, Anthology, Activision Anthology, Midway Arcade, Pinball Arcade, Namco Arcade. So lots of great games. And, you know, I just had Midway Arcade open there. And it's got this really cool splash page. And basically you have all the different Midway games that you can cycle through. Let me sync up the Bluetooth real quick. Once it syncs up, I'll be able to use the iCade controls here. There we go. And we got Spy Hunter. And it's really cool because you actually see the cabinet, and it's like you're in an arcade. So I really like this thing. It's awesome. Root Beer Tapper, Arch Rivals is a lot of fun. Joust, what a great game. Classic. So I love this thing. I play it a lot. And then we also have this little light switch cover here that I got at thinkgeek.com, the power up light switch. The nice thing about this is it lights up, it has little sound effects, and it turns on this light bulb up here, which is a blue light, and kind of cast a blue light on this little alcove here. I have the iPad synced up to a little Bluetooth speaker, so the sound is a little bit better. I have a candy machine dispensing runts that probably need to be changed out at this point. They're getting a little old. And we've got a little slot machine, a Rubik's Cube, a little classic arcade poster that I printed out, and then I went ahead and painted that frame, and a little kind of blue light to match everything here. So just kind of a fun little spot to hang out and play some old school arcade games. And yeah, just a lot of enjoyment has had over there. People seem to enjoy playing like Pac-Man and stuff like that over here, especially when we're all playing pinball. You know, when people are waiting for their turn on pinball, they come over here, play some Galaga, something like that. Moving over here to our entertainment center. Now, this may change here in the near future. This entertainment center is a little too big for this alcove. I have some ideas, and I'm trying to kind of hone in on exactly what I want to do. Everything from very grand ideas to things that are a little more subtle. I don't know if I want to give it away yet because it might be a video on the channel. But I have some interesting project ideas for this. So this may come out at some point, I don't know. But for now, we have an entertainment center here. We have a HD plasma TV, an older TV that we have the Dreamcast hooked up to at the moment via VGA cable. That's one of the nice things about this TV. It does have the VGA input, and the Dreamcast looks really good with the VGA input, and or being hooked up via VGA. And right now we have Sonic Adventure 2 running on the Dreamcast. Now the Dreamcast is one of my favorite systems of all time, and I definitely love me some Dreamcast, and I still have my original Dreamcast from 1999. I picked it up on launch day. It's in here. From $99.99, so it's still running strong. I don't know how many hours I put on that thing over the years. An awful lot, so it's pretty impressive that it's still running, 19 years later, I guess it is. And yeah, Dreamcast, can't go wrong with Dreamcast. So we have a little sound bar here. I've got a couple of our, older consoles like the Super Nintendo and the NES here. They're actually not hooked up because this is not the ideal TV for that. If I want to play NES or Super Nintendo, I'll play on a CRT television. I think it looks better and there's no input lag, so it just makes more sense. This TV didn't quite fill up this entertainment center all the way, so Leaf and I did a little DIY project. We went ahead and made that little TV topper there. We basically just took some DVD cases, printed out some inserts, glued them all together, slapped it up on top of that TV just to kind of fill that space. Just kind of a fun little art project, I guess. And then up here we have some of my boxed Genesis accessories. We've got the 32X, we got the Sega Genesis core system, we've got the arcade stick, and yeah, it's nice to have those up there, and some red LED lights above the entertainment center as well. So very cool. And then down here we've got another candy machine, a fire extinguisher, which is always good to have with all these old electronics. Try to have those all over the house because you never know. Better safe than sorry. Over here we've got the advertisement for the pinball machine I mentioned. This is a vintage bank. It's a slot machine bank, and it's a pretty good quality one. It's made out of cast metal, and it's quite nice. And then why don't we move down here? So this is our PSP collection, and we have a whole bunch of games here. And let's see some highlights here. We got the Metal Gear Solid games and the Final Fantasy games, and we got Crash Tag Team Racing, and then there's a whole bunch of games back here. Now, I'm not going to show the whole collections of various video game collections I have in this video. If you want to see full collection videos, I do have all those on our homepage under Gameroom Tours. You can see a collection video for basically every different collection we have, where I go through every game and in a little more detail. If I did that with every collection, this video would be 5 hours long. But I will kind of point out some of my favorite items and try to share the collections, an overview of the collections with you in this video. Moving down, we have my little portable travel setup. So this is pretty cool. This is let me change the tripod down so you guys can see what's going on here. There we go. So this is a pretty recent project that I put together. This is a little case, and in this case I've got my PlayStation Vita right there. And then I've got my PSP, and then I've got the hookups. I've got a couple PSP games. I've got some Vita games. And yeah, it's just a really convenient way to travel with both the PSP and the Vita. And anytime I travel, I go somewhere, I can just grab this setup. It's super easy to travel with. It's a hard shell, so I'm not worried about my systems getting broken up or moving around or anything. It's got this little strap in here, so everything's staying down and in place. And yeah, I just really love this. It's just a great way to travel with some video games. And yeah, Vita and PSP are definitely some of my favorite handhelds. I like the old school Game Boy a lot too, but that may just be nostalgia talking because I still get a lot of enjoyment out of the original Game Boy. And then we have the box for the iPad 2, and this is basically just there to cover all my hookups and various charging cables and some various controllers and stuff. Over here we have a poker set, and I really enjoy playing poker. Texas Hold'em is one of my favorite games. I used to play quite a bit, and I don't play as much as I used to, but I used to actually like to go to local tournaments and stuff and play Texas Hold'em. There was a while there where Texas Hold'em was kind of a craze, where anytime you turn on the TV you would see Texas Hold'em tournaments. Not so much anymore, but it's a fun game, and I still definitely enjoy playing it. Moving over here is where we keep all the board games in this cabinet here, and we got a whole bunch of board games. Survivor, Weakest Link. I don't know what this is. Oh, this is for the slot machine. And down here we got some more. Oh, excuse me. There we go. We got Settlers of Catan. And just some random stuff in there, Yahtzee. And then now most of the board games that get actually played are over here. We've got, the classics, Monopoly, Life, Clue, Battleship. And I actually put a little green felt on this table. And that's the board game table. We just take that little globe off of here and we can all kind of circle around this table and play some family board games. And this globe is actually really cool. This is made out of gemstones. So this was an anniversary present. And all these little sections here are different gemstones. And it's just really pretty. And I quite like that thing. That was a nice present. And yeah, that's our board games. And then of course we have Oscar here sleeping away. Looking very comfortable. This is our slot machine. This is a skill stop slot machine. These are popular in Japan, and I picked this one up off of Craigslist. I think it was like $150, something like that. And it's a trip. Why don't we turn it on? I don't have it on at the moment because it's so loud. The fan on it, actually, you could hear on the camera, so I turned it off. But I'll turn it on for a little second here. You just open it up with this little key. Here's the inside of the machine, in case you're interested. And then you flip this little switch. Close the door. And then we go ahead and coin up. And then you push this little lever down. And the reel starts spinning. And then with the skill stop machines, you have to individually stop each reel. And I just won, I think, 3 credits or something like that. So sometimes you'll hit like a bonus and it'll start going crazy and the lights flash, and there's this Japanese guy on here that starts screaming and the music's really loud and it's pretty wild. It's definitely an unusual slot machine, but it's a nice item to have in the game room. And yeah, that's the machine. I'm going to turn this off because of the noise it makes. There we go. I think my ideal item to have here would be a vintage, probably Bally, maybe circa 1980 something slot machine that takes quarters or nickels, something like that. But for now, I like this one as well. It looks good here, and the skill stop is kind of a cool feature to have. And when people play it, they seem to get a kick out of it because it's different, it's a little unusual. So let's see, why don't we move over here? This is a print that we got at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo when Leaf and I were there. There was an artist there selling his artwork, and we picked this up off of him because we're both big Earthworm Jim fans, and I really like this print quite a bit. So that's very awesome. We have it here in the game room, kind of over by our Genesis collection. Speaking of Earthworm Jim, we have Earthworm Jim playing on the TV right now on the CRT. So can't go wrong with Earthworm Jim. I love that game. I love Earthworm Jim 2, the first one, the second one. Moving up here, we have our complete 32X collection. Yep, that's every Sega 32X game in North America. And that was a little project that Leaf and I had on the channel. We wanted to collect every game from the North American set. And we just started hunting them down. So whether it was at conventions or out and about when we were on the hunt or online, we started tracking them all down. It took about a year and a couple months, I think, to get them all. And then we made this little display case, this red and yellow display case to store them all. And then we made this little 32X perler bead sign and put them all up here on the wall. And it's definitely one of the pride and joys of the collection. Love having that set there. The 32X is, I think, a lot of fun. I'm a big Sega fanboy, though, so I may be totally biased. I have no idea. But I like several of the games on here. Calibri is awesome. Also, there's a lot of really good arcade ports on the 32X. So if you want to play like a good, let's see, Space Harrier port, you really want to get it on the 32X. The Virtual Fighter's good. Night Trap, of course, and Blackthorn is awesome. So there's some gems on this system. You know, there's not many, but there's a few, and definitely enjoyed that process of collecting all those. A little floor lamp there, nothing too exciting, but well, this is exciting. Moving down here, this is one of my favorite items that I have. My personal possessions is my Sega Genesis collection. I absolutely adore the Sega Genesis. I grew up with this. My first console was an NES, and my second console was a Sega Genesis. And I was really enamored with, like, Sonic the Hedgehog. To me, the speed and kind of the attitude that he had, and then like Blood on Mortal Kombat and stuff like that. As a kid, I thought that was just so cool, and the graphics were so amazing, and I was really in love with the Genesis. So I had the Genesis and the Sega CD and the 32X and like the Nomad and the Game Gear, and I was totally hooked into that ecosystem. And I have all the games back from when I was a kid now, and quite a few more at this point. And some of the highlights, I guess, would be like Crusader Senti. We got Moonwalker, Complete in Box Truxton, really nice Splatterhouse 2 and 3 that we got from Mr. Wizard, and that was really nice of him to send it to us. And it's very cool because on the inside it's got like this blood splattered Splatterhouse, and then the actual cart is like got blood on the inside of it. So very cool item there. And then we've also got a bunch of John Hancock's games that he signed for us. I picked up number 33 out of 40 because, you know, my YouTube name, COE33. And yeah, just a bunch of awesome games. We'll have to do another collection video or update video of our entire collection here at some point. I'm not sure how many games we have. I think we're getting close to like 200, something like that. Lots of great loose carts down there too that eventually I would like to get complete in box. Moving over here to our CRT television. This for a kind of off-brand CRT. This is a great little TV. It's got, you can see me there, hello. You got a great picture on this TV. The tube obviously hasn't been used very much, and so the picture quality is still really good. And then hooked up to this TV is the Retron 3, and that plays Genesis, NES, and Super Nintendo. And I have a little pinball holding down the power button on that because the power button is starting to not stay down, so every once in a while it'll power off. So I just put the pinball on top of there to hold it down so it stays on. And then recently I actually put the Atari 2600 up here and hooked it up to this TV as well, which is a nice addition to this room because this is the perfect spot here to play a little Atari 2600, which is always a lot of fun. And then above that, we got the lava lamp, because you can't have a retro game room without a lava lamp. So moving over to this little area right here, we've got our popcorn machine. And yeah, this thing makes really good popcorn. It's a traditional oil popcorn machine. and it's got a little light up marquee on it. So you just put the coconut oil or whatever into that little I don't even know what you call it, little pot, I guess, and you throw the kernels in there and you turn it on, and voila, you got popcorn. And we got little popcorn holders. And yeah, it's got like a Hollywood kind of marquee on the top, so it's supposed to look like a movie theater popcorn machine. And I thought it was just a nice, cool little addition to this game room. And in this chest here, I don't think I've ever actually showed that on the channel. I used to, as a young boy, like 5 to 12, I used to be really into magic. I was like, I love David Copperfield and Houdini, and that's actually all my old magic props from when I was a kid. And I've carried them around with me all these years. So in there is all my old books on magic and my old props and all that. So there's actually a lot of really cool stuff in there. I'm not going to take the popcorn machine off and get into it right now, but that thing is full of some really cool magic props that I haven't had the heart to get rid of over the years. And then we have an art print from one of my favorite artists there. And we have a sarcophagus. I used to, when I was a teenager, I worked at a furniture store. And that was in the back, and it was like clearanced off. I think that had a little chip in it or something like that. And I picked it up real cheap, and I've had that for years now. And I did have the Sega Game Gear games in there, but I actually put the Sega Game Gear games on the Game Gear shelf or on the Sega shelf. And this is empty currently, so I'm not sure what I'm gonna put in there. So maybe I'll find something to put in there, but at the moment it's empty. And then we just have another thing that I picked up at the furniture store many years ago. And then we got this little lion here and a nice view of the backyard. We live out in the forest. We live in Oregon, out in the middle of nowhere. It's nice to have a nice view up here. And we live on a large plot of land, so that goes back quite a ways. And definitely creates lots of yard work for me. But luckily it's winter right now, so I don't have to mow, which is always nice. Moving over here, we have the wall video games. And this is where, I wouldn't say the bulk of the collection. I think it's split between up here and downstairs now because but as far as the retro collection, this is where the bulk of it is at. So we have our Super Nintendo, we have our NES, we have kind of our non-Genesis and non-32X Sega stuff. And now we have the Atari 2600 collection up here. We have the PC collection. We have the Nintendo 64 collection, which is pretty small. And then we have a Dreamcast, the little Dreamcast display, which I'll show you in a second. And over here is it's actually a really nice art print. That's a hand-signed lithograph by an artist, an American artist, Wyland. He's pretty famous. He does lots of seascapes. And that was something that we picked up a long time ago. And I'm glad that I have a nice big spot on the wall to hang it because it's a big piece. And for a while there, we didn't have anywhere to put it. But when we moved into this house, we finally had a good wall to put that on. So that's kind of nice. And although it's not video game related, I think it looks really cool there. And why don't we just start sharing the collection here with you guys? So here's our Super Nintendo collection. We have a little Super Nintendo controller. We have a Lego Ninja Turtle piece on top. I'm not sure why that's there, but I don't know. I just needed something to fill the shelf there. And then we don't have a whole lot of Super Nintendo games now. I did not have a Super Nintendo growing up. My best friend had one, and I would go over to his house, and we'd play Super Nintendo over there, and he'd come to my house, and we'd play Genesis. And the 16-bit war was in full effect at this time, and I'd give him grief for his Super Nintendo, and he'd give me grief for my Genesis. But secretly, we both enjoyed playing either. I mean, we were just big into video games, of course. And there's so many amazing games on the Super Nintendo that I have a great appreciation for it, but I don't have the nostalgia for it, so it's not something that I seek out as much as, say, like NES or Genesis or Atari 2600 or Dreamcast or anything like that. But I look forward to continuing to grow this collection because we do have some good games. We've got, Super Mario All-Stars and Super Mario Kart and Super Mario World, and we've got Breath of Fire, and we've got Final Fight, which, by the way, I love that game. Final Fight in the arcade is one of my favorite beat-em-ups. I love that game, right behind Streets of Rage. Streets of Rage is my favorite beat-em-up, but Final Fight is right there. Awesome game. And then we got our Super Game Boy complete in box. Now, Leaf and I had a heck of a score early on in this channel. We were out and about, and we went to a garage sale, and some nice old lady was selling her Super Nintendo collection, and we got a console and a bunch of games in the box and a whole bunch of games for really cheap, and that was one of our early scores, one of our better scores, and that was a really fun day. And go ahead and check out our On the Hunt videos. It was Super SNES Score on the Hunt episode if you want to check that out. Moving over here is our NES collection. Now you can see on top of these shelves here we have little custom signs. I basically took DVD cases and printed out inserts, and we have Nintendo, we have Sega, and the newest addition up here is now we have an Atari shelf. And just kind of a fun little way to have a little signage on each shelf. And then also we have the controllers on each shelf. Now I do this because it looks cool, but also oftentimes I want to come over here on this TV over here and play, you know, say Sega Genesis. And I don't want to fish around for a controller. I just come over here, I grab the controller. I put my best controllers out here so I know they work. I know that the buttons are responsive, and I know I won't have to fidget around with anything, so I can just easily grab a controller and start playing, which is, you know, nice and convenient. And this is our NES shelf. Now you can see we have these alphabetically organized, and I made these little printouts. I basically put all the letters and used red and white to kind of signify, you know, Nintendo colors. And I printed these out on 4x6 photo paper, and then I just cut them out and I put them in where they go, and just kind of a nice little way to display the collection and have it all organized. And our NES collection has definitely grown quite a bit over the years, and this shelf is just about full. We're almost out of room on that shelf, so I'm either going to go up and put shelving along the wall here, or I may do some kind of project over there where the entertainment center is at. I haven't quite decided, but for now we're good. And yeah, here's our NES collection. So we've got, you know, most of the classics like the Metroids and the Contras and the Adventure Islands and all the Marios and, you know, etc., etc. Whole bunch of games. We got some cool stuff here in the box. We've got, you know, the Cowlitz games. We go up to John Hancock's Expo in Cowlitz County every year, and we try to pick up his exclusive titles when we're up there to support the show. So we got tortoises, and we've got the Cowlitz Gamers Second Adventure there, and those are really nice to have. And then we got some more games here. And then this bottom shelf here are games that we've added that I haven't sorted alphabetically yet. So I have to go through and I have to sort all those alphabetically. And then we've got some other cool stuff over here, like we've got a Retro Championship cart signed by Gamester81. And I think behind that we've got the Barbie cart signed by, let's see, Pat NES Punk. And yeah, just different fun stuff. And then we have a little floating shelf here with some complete box games, which is pretty cool. Moving over here to the Sega shelf. Now this used to be where all the Genesis games were, but I moved the Genesis games over below the window, as you saw, and I put all the Master System games and the Saturn games and the Sega CD games and the Game Gear games all live on this shelf now. And now I didn't have a Master System growing up, but you know, being such a big Sega fan, I wanted to start collecting for it. And I really enjoy the Master System. It's a lot of fun. It's, you know, it's definitely old school, kind of on the level of the NES, I'd say, graphically. And I have a lot of fun with it, especially games like R-Type and Choplifter, Afterburner, Outrun, all these really cool games. And yeah, just a fun system to collect for. I find these infrequently, not very often, but seem to be pretty affordable when I do find them, so that's kind of nice. And then up here we have Tails. We have a Genesis controller, and of course we got Sonic on the little signage there. Up here we've got some prints. These are like Egyptian hieroglyph prints printed on papyrus. And yeah, again, not gaming related, but not everything has to be gaming related. And then we have a dartboard there. Although I'm not really thrilled with that dartboard placement because it's right next to the NES shelf. And yeah, wouldn't want any mishaps. So far, so good though. Over here we have the newest edition up here, which is, this used to be the PlayStation shelf, and now it's the Atari 2600 shelf. And it's nice to have a dedicated shelf for all these Atari games. And we just did a full Atari 2600 collection video on the channel. If you want to check that out, I will put links in the description below. And I do love me some Atari 2600. Definitely old school, but lots of fun. And our collection is pretty decent. We've gotten a lot of good games over the years and some uncommon and rare stuff. And really happy with that collection. And then we've got our PC collection over here. And I'm pretty much done collecting PC. We're out of room, frankly. There's nowhere else to put it. And as far as all the games I have nostalgia for, we have them all. You know, Seventh Guest. And by the way, Leaf and I visited the Seventh Guest house. It's not far from here, and we went and it's actually a restaurant now. And we went ahead and had lunch there, and we took a look at the house. And yeah, check it out. It's one of our On the Hunt episodes. And lots of great stuff. This cabinet here is totally full of games. So definitely, we're not lacking in physical PC games. Whole bunch of stuff there. Oregon Trail Classic. And lots of great stuff. And then up here is our World of Warcraft collection. And then we have this little, I don't know, you call it like an infinite mirror type thing. So let me turn it on here. There we go. So you can see it's like, ooh, it goes on forever. Pretty cool. And we got some World of Warcraft figurines and some collector sets and all that good stuff. Moving down here, we got our Nintendo 64 collection. A small collection, but we got some good titles. We got Donkey Kong 64, Banjo-Kazooie, 1080 Snowboarding. We got Earthworm Jim 3. Lots of great stuff. And the nice thing about this is we have this whole wall here. So if we want to grow the collection, there's plenty of space to do so. So that's kind of nice. Moving over here to the Dreamcast collection. Now, these are all my original Dreamcast games from when I was a teenager. And unfortunately, as a teenager, I took all the manuals and all the boxes and I tossed them and put everything in a binder because, you know, I didn't think they'd be collectible or anything like that. But of course they are. But at least I still have them. And I wanted kind of a nice way to display all these. And so I came up with this little wall display. I put this sign up here and then I put this wall display on this wall over here and kind of put them all in one spot. And I'm quite happy with it. It's actually a really cool way to display them, I think. And if I want to come over here and play a little Power Stone 2, I just, you know, grab it and go. Real easy. And there's definitely some gems here. Shenmue, of course. Grandia 2, awesome. Skies of Arcadia, one of my all-time favorite RPGs. The Resident Evil games, I loved playing those on Dreamcast back in the day. I was very fortunate to play Resident Evil 2 on the Dreamcast. I think it looks amazing. Resident Evil 3, same thing there. And Code Veronica. All three of those are some of my favorite old school survival horror games. Hydro Thunder, awesome. Used to play that in the arcade, and when it finally came out to Dreamcast, you could finally play it at just about arcade quality at home. So that's pretty incredible, especially back in 1999. And just lots of great stuff. So yeah, definitely love me some Dreamcast. And guys, that is the upstairs game room. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go downstairs to the modern game room and take a look at that. We're in the downstairs game room, and there's a whole lot of changes to share with you. If you guys have followed this channel for a while, I'm sure you'll notice quite a few little minor adjustments that Leaf and I made just recently, especially to this area over here, and I'll share all those changes with you in detail in just a second. But earlier in the year, we actually did a pretty big DIY project. Leaf and I took everything off of this wall over here, and we painted the wall red, and we put LED light strips up, and we built custom shelving, and made room for this guy right here, which is a Neo Geo MVS 2-slot. And why don't we just get right into it? So here's our arcade cab. It's definitely maybe the highlight of the collection, at least in my eyes. I can't tell you how much fun it is having a full-size arcade cabinet down here. And it gets a lot of use. Definitely love it. It works like a champ. No problems with it so far. And right now we actually have a 161 in one multi-cart in there. So that's kind of cool. So we have a bunch of different games to choose from. And then we actually have some physical carts as well. We have Metal Slug, and we have World Heroes 2 up there, along with our Neo Geo X. And then we also have Samurai Showdown that Neo Turbo Maniac sent to us very graciously. And we still need to get a little box for that so we can put it up there on the shelf. And we'll do that soon. But yeah, definitely love me some Neo Geo. Grew up playing these things in the arcade. And when a deal came across my way on Craigslist that was too good to pass up, I went ahead and jumped on it, and this thing, boy, this thing was a beast to get in here. These are like 400 pounds, and it was raining, and just trying to move an arcade cabinet into the house was quite the feat of strength. But here it is, we got it in here, and I couldn't be happier with it. So next to the Neo Geo arcade cabinet is kind of our Xbox display. So starting up here, we have a little Xbox sign that we got off of eBay. And then we have a little wall display here. And we got some great games, Panzer Dragoon Orta, and Atari, and Castlevania, and Gauntlet, and Silent Hill, and Digimon, and Morrowind, which when that came out, that was one of the first Xbox games I played on the original Xbox. And that kind of blew my mind at the time, really incredible. Love that game. And then, of course, Shenmue 2, which we actually have playing on the CRT television right now. And I can't go wrong with a little Shenmue, especially the first game. And I'm actually looking forward to the third one. I backed it on Kickstarter, so I should be getting my Kickstarter copy before too long, I'd imagine. Jade Empire, Doom, Toe Jam and Earl. Gotta love Toe Jam and Earl, and Conquer Reloaded, so some pretty cool games there. And then moving down, of course, we got our Halo Limited Edition Xbox, along with Halo 2 Limited Edition, a Doom statue, and then the majority of the collection. This is where we keep all our Xbox 360, and Xbox One games, so that's pretty awesome. We have this little tower here where we keep our Star Wars Edition Xbox 360, and this thing's pretty awesome. It makes lots of cool noises. It sounds like R2-D2, so that's kind of fun. And then we've got some of our Xbox 360 games. And then here we have our controllers. We have our Halo Xbox, original Xbox controller. We have our Star Wars Xbox 360 controller and a wired Xbox 360 controller. So that's pretty awesome. Moving up here, we've got definitely one of Leaf and I's most valued treasures that we have down here. And this is all the letters that people have sent to us over the years since we've been doing TGH. People have been so kind to us over the years, sending us packages and letters and goodies for our collection. And we keep all the letters, and we've framed them here, hung them up in the game room, and you can't actually, unfortunately, you can't even see them all because they're kind of stacked behind each other. But yeah, it's pretty cool. We like to, every once in a while, take that and look at the different letters and see all the nice things that people have sent. So that definitely means a lot to us. Above that, we have an Atari sign. And I'm not sure why that's there, but I guess it kind of looks cool there. The Atari collection's upstairs, but that seemed to be a decent spot for that. We have our RGB lighting here that can change any color, so that's very cool. Kind of leading over here to the custom shelving for the Wii Collection. So the Wii Collection is one of our larger collections, so we needed kind of a solution to have space for all the different games. And I went ahead and built these custom media shelves and painted them red, and it gave just enough room for the box there and all the accessories, and of course all our Wii games. And this is definitely one of our better collections. We got a lot of the great titles on the Wii, and both Leaf and I enjoy playing the Wii and collecting for the Wii, so that's pretty cool. We also have this little Wii tower here, and there's our original launch day Wii. We picked that up when the Wii launched, and it's still going strong, so that's awesome. And then we have this Wii poster here that we framed and put up right over here next to the Wii Collection. Moving over here, we have kind of a recent change. First of all, I put RGB lighting in these display cabinets, those two right there, and then over here. So these now change to any color you want, so that's very cool. And I went ahead and turned these to blue, and this is kind of our ode to Mario. Went ahead and put all our kind of Mario Brothers stuff here. We have our custom NES that was a DIY project. We have the original Mario Brothers games on the NES. We got some Amiibo. We got the level up end level display and for the Amiibo here, which I quite like. And we've got some Hot Wheel Mario cars and a little Mario figurine and all kinds of fun Mario stuff. So I thought it'd be cool to have like one dedicated spot where we put all that stuff. And then we printed out a little backdrop there for Mario, a little blue backdrop with the various, the bricks and the coin blocks and all that. And then this is also a change that we just did. So this was where we kept the Atari collection, and moved that upstairs into the retro game room. And now we have a dedicated spot for the Wii U collection finally, which we did not have until recently. And here's our Wii U collection. And we've got our box there, the Super Mario 3D World Wii U. And we've got all our games. And yeah, definitely love the Wii U, lots of fun. And we look forward to continuing collecting for it. It's an awesome system. Up here we have kind of random stuff, I guess would be the best way to put it. We've got various accessories and figurines and Skylanders. That's kind of a catch-all for stuff. Eventually that may be like a display for the Switch or I don't know, Sonic, something like that. We may come up with some kind of clever use of that space. But for now, it's a good spot to put all kind of our random stuff. And there's some cool things up here. We got, R2-D2 there. We got this electronic basketball and electronic football game that a viewer sent to us. Armand sent that to us. Thank you. And then we've got some arcade cabinets and Skylanders and all kinds of cool stuff, little plug and plays. And then this is also a change that we just made. We now move our Tomb Raider shrine, which is definitely another highlight of the game room, to this corner here. And then I went ahead and made this little poster collage of all our Tomb Raider stuff. So we got a nice little collage there. And then we have the Tomb Raider statue here and the collector's edition box for Rise of the Tomb Raider. And here's a perler art piece that Leaf and I made. And put that here. So now all the Tomb Raider stuff is in this corner, which is pretty awesome. And yeah, we're both big fans of Tomb Raider. I grew up playing these ever since the first one. When it came out on the PlayStation 1, I went to a local Target and picked it up. And I was kind of enamored with it right off the bat. So I definitely like collecting Tomb Raider. And we have, all the games in the franchise. I just played Rise of the Tomb Raider finally, and I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite out of the recent trilogy, but I did enjoy it. And yeah, we got some pretty cool stuff in here. We've got, the Lara Croft versus the Yeti statue, and different figurines, and collector's editions, and PC boxes, and all kinds of awesome Tomb Raider goodies. We have our boxed PlayStation original up there, our Tomb Raider collector's edition, Tomb Raider Chronicles. Yeah, lots of cool Tomb Raider stuff. And then we got the laser lights in the corner, which is kind of cool, especially when the lights are out. That looks very neat. And I moved the PlayStation games over here next to the Tomb Raider shrine. I thought that kind of was a good spot for it. And now it's a lot easier to access these. Before, they were over here in the corner by the Neo Geo cab, and I couldn't quite get to them very easily. So here is our original PlayStation collection. And this is actually completely full, this little CD rack here, where we keep all our PlayStation games. And we got some great stuff, Parasite Eve and Metal Gear Solid and Chrono Cross and Beyond the Beyond, Star Ocean, Final Fantasies, Twisted Metals, all that good stuff. And yeah, I love collecting for the original PlayStation. Such a great system. This is our desk setup, and this is where Leaf and I film our videos. And yeah, it's also my home office PC setup, so this is where I work. And let's see, what do we got here? I'll just start going through the different peripherals we got. We got a Blue Yeti Snowball mic. I've got a Turtle Beach Stealth 420Xs, I think they are, for headphones. And an Asus monitor. And then above that is just a kind of an off-brand plasma television that I use as a secondary screen. And then we've got some speakers there, and we have a laptop hooked up, and the laptop has my copy of Photoshop on it, so that's where I do all the thumbnails and stuff for the YouTube channel. Here's my PC that I built in 2011, I think it was. I built this one when Skyrim came out because I wanted a new PC to play Skyrim on. And it's definitely showing its age at this point, but I have another gaming PC that I recently built that's in the living room that's way more powerful than this one. This has got an Intel i5, it's quad core. I did upgrade the graphics card at some point. I think it's a AMD R9 or 390? Yeah, a 390 I think. I can't quite remember at the moment. But I do have a Blu-ray drive in there, and SSD, and a couple mechanical 1 terabyte hard drives. I think 16 gigs of RAM. And eventually I'll want to kind of upgrade this and do a different build just because I enjoy building PCs. So it'd be nice to have a new PC in this area. But that said, this has been a great computer. It's been going strong since 2011, so it still works great. And we got a little TGH sign there. We've got my printer. We have a PlayStation display here with some PlayStation 3 games. And when we moved the Atari 2600 games upstairs, I was able to move all the PlayStation games down here. And here's another change. I went ahead and took some of the stuff out of this cabinet and put all the PlayStation 3 and all the PlayStation 2 games in here. So now all the PlayStation games are downstairs in the quote-unquote modern game room. Now, not everything in here is obviously modern, but modern compares, no cartridge-based systems down here, basically. Or cartridge-based games, I should say, because we do actually have a few systems down here that require cartridges. We have the Genesis there and the Nintendo 64. But here's our PlayStation 3 collection. And then moving down here, we have our PlayStation 2 collection, which is really actually, you can't see them all, but it's too deep there. There's quite a few games in this little spot here. And I just put, a few of our favorites out front here. So it's not the ideal solution, but that said, at least we're able to have all the PlayStation games down here, and that's kind of nice. I did have to before it was all the Final Fantasy games in this little area, this little cubby right here, and I went ahead and took those and just put them within their individual collection. So if it was a Final Fantasy game on the PlayStation 1, I put it with the PlayStation collection. If it was a Final Fantasy X, I put it in the PlayStation 2 collection, etc., etc. And that made room for the PS2 games here. And then I did keep the little Fallout shrine here. So all our Fallout stuff is still right down here together. And we've got all kinds of fun stuff. We got a bobblehead, and we've got Nuka-Cola caps there, and we've got the different games, and we got the Pip-Boy, and yada yada yada. And then down below that, we have our IndieBox collection. And Leaf and I subscribed to IndieBox for quite a while, and those go too deep, so we have quite a few of them. And definitely enjoyed that service while it was still going, and enjoyed unboxing those every month, and we still have them all. And then up there, I showed you that already, is our Neo Geo and our Neo Geo games. Over here are some collector's editions for the PlayStation 3. So we got some different ones here. We got Final Fantasy and Tekken Hybrid, and we got a Terminator head, and Aliens, Colonial Marines, and we got Bioshock, Songbird edition. We have a little Predator statue down there. All kinds of cool stuff. Moving over here, we got our Retron 5. Now this is how we record our gameplay footage. So we got the Retron hooked up here, and we have that we got that hooked up to our capture card, and we just basically put a cart or whatever into the Retron, push the little button there on the capture card, and record the gameplay footage to an SD, and then just transfer it to the computer. Here is our retro modern TV. And a lot of people ask about this when they see it. They like it quite a bit, apparently, because everyone wants to know where to get one. It is a very cool TV. I love it. It's got a subwoofer in it, so it sounds really good. The picture's awesome. It's been an amazing TV, and it looks very cool. I picked it up off of Amazon quite a while ago, and I got it when they were clearancing them out, so I don't know how much I paid. It wasn't cheap by any means, but I got a good deal on it compared to what it usually retailed for. And I don't think they make it anymore. I mean, you might try typing in Seiki, or whatever it is. You can see it there, SEIKI, retro TV, and see what comes up. And maybe you can score one if you're interested in it. But yeah, really happy to have it. Sounds good, it looks good, and we have quite a few consoles hooked up to it. We've got the PlayStation 2 hooked up to this via component cable. We've got the Wii U hooked up via HDMI. We've got the Retron hooked up via HDMI, and then we have the Xbox 360 hooked up via HDMI. And then, of course, down here is our custom Resident Evil fight stick, and this is another DIY project, and I took an old fight stick that was the buttons were given out on, and I put new arcade buttons in there, and I gave it a custom paint job, and a nice little Resident Evil custom theming there with the badge, and that lives right next to our Resident Evil collection. And this is another DIY project from the channel that we did. There's a video about it if you want to see us making it. And this is a custom storage locker that houses all of our Resident Evil collection. And there we go. So I've got a little light in here. Voila. And we've got our custom Resident Evil PlayStation. We've got all our Resident Evil collection. So very cool. This locker is definitely filling up. And just some custom Resident Evil theming there with a little badge. And yeah, very cool. If you can't tell, I like Resident Evil. Another series that I grew up playing. And when that first one came out, boy, was that scary. I remember being terrified about when I was playing that back in the day. And then on the Resident Evil storage locker, we have Brianna Tarth. We picked that up at a St. Vincent de Paul for really cheap. Now, I would like to track down one of those Resident Evil chainsaw controllers and put that on top of this Resident Evil storage locker eventually. So that's kind of the goal. Over here next to the Neo Geo cabinet, this was where we had the PlayStation 1 games, but now I went ahead and moved some more collector's editions over here. So we have the Sonic Mania collector's edition for the Switch. We have the Doom collector's edition. And below that, you can kind of barely see it, is the Just Cause 3 collector's edition. And then over here we have a pretty cool Pac-Man print. It's kind of like an imploded view of a Pac-Man Atari 2600 cart, but in the middle of the cart is the actual Pac-Man playfield. So it's actually a really cool little art print. And then what else? We have these cool Mario Kart curtains. And let's see, Oscar wants to get in. Oscar, do you want in, bud? Come on. Come hang out. Say hi to the people at home. Yep. And then let's see what else. Over here we have our stereo system, and I do have it hooked up to 5.1 channel surround sound. So I can put DVDs or CDs in here, and they look and sound great. And then our small GameCube collection right here. And still room to grow there. We've got this really cool challenge coin that somebody sent to us during a We Got Mail episode. And it's got an arcade cabinet on there. And then it's got a really cool Albert Einstein quote. "You have to learn the rules of the game, and then you have to play better than anyone else." Albert Einstein. So that's pretty awesome. And then we got a Master Sword there. So very cool. As far as this TV, this is a Sony Trinitron. And this TV is amazing. I couldn't be happier with this TV. The picture is excellent. Clearly, it doesn't have that many hours on the tube. We got this at a Goodwill for like $10. And I brought it home, and I was like, wow, we really lucked out because it's in great shape and it looks good. Sounds amazing. And then hooked up to this, we have our Sega Genesis with our 32X on it. That's hooked up via S-Video. We have a PlayStation 1 hooked up via S-Video. We have a GameCube, and we've got a Nintendo 64, and then we've got our original Xbox, which is still working. Thankfully, those things love to give out. I've gone through a few Xboxes over the years, and they like to die. And this one's been going pretty strong for a couple years now, so knock on wood. Hopefully that keeps going. And then we've got a subwoofer over here underneath the Tomb Raider Collector's Edition. And guys, that's the downstairs game room. So the big changes are basically this area here. I went ahead, and there was a light box over in this corner, and I moved the light box out. I put that in the garage, and then I took the Tomb Raider shrine, put it in the corner, and then put this in the corner, this kind of oak cabinet here. Gave myself a little more room, so when I'm working at the desk, I don't feel like things are gonna quite fall on me as much. Open this area up a little bit. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. And then this desk, we gave a custom paint job. We painted it red. This was a while ago when we did that. Kind of keeping the theme in here. Red is definitely the primary color in this room. And yeah, it's just a fun place to hang out, play some games, and especially on the old Neo Geo arcade cabinet. Alright guys, that is it for this video and this year's full game room tour. I really hope you enjoyed it. It's always fun sharing these videos with you and seeing the changes every year. Certainly from the first time that we shared our game room, there's been a whole heck of a lot of changes, and the collection continues to grow every year. And yeah, thank you for watching this, and I hope everyone has an awesome 2019. So until next time, bye.